Hi, everyone.
Bonsoir, bonsoir. Bonsoir,
How are
bonsoir.
you?
Nous allons très bien.
Thank you. All right. Are you set that side? I can start?
Yes,
Mhm.
you can
Yes.
start.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Christine Mohone. I am part of OSM Malawi. Right. So the project that I'm presenting today is called Mapping Cyclone Ana's Most Affected Districts in Malawi, which is in response to the Cyclone Ana. And we are trying to do this in recovery of the affected communities. Right. So I want to give you first a background on where this project is coming from. So this project is actually sponsored or funded by HOT through the Eastern and Southern African Hub. And it is actually a consortium between the Malawi Red Cross, OpenStreetMap Malawi, and Nkoma University. Yeah, so we came together as a consortium to run this project. So far, we started this project last year. We actually got the grant last year. And was it last year? Sorry, it was this year. And we were actually meant to finish in September, but then we've had a bit of delays. So we are still in the process of this project. Yeah, so in terms of mapping of the Cyclone Ana, the idea for this project initially was to map Cyclone Ana, which happened last year. But then in the midst of us working on the project, another cyclone happened again this year, which is Cyclone Freddy. So what we did, we had to now incorporate the Cyclone Freddy, which happened this year. But then the project was meant only to target Cyclone Ana. Yeah, so I'm going to walk you through the goal of this project, the objectives, the project activities, and what we've been able to do so far. Yeah, so in terms of the goal, the main goal of the project is to facilitate mapping of Cyclone Ana, as I already said, in the most affected districts of Malawi for early recovery of the affected communities. So as we were starting the project, before I get into the main objectives, the first thing that we actually did I would call it an inception meeting with the district councils. The main aim of this was for us to actually understand the extent of the floods, the impact of the floods, and also to understand what would I say, the specific areas that were mostly affected by the floods, because you should understand that our idea was mostly based on ideas and also what we saw on the news and other information that we gathered. But then for us to have a clear picture of the project on how to address it, we needed to understand it from the perspective of someone who was a victim, someone who was directly affected by the floods. So that was the first thing that we did. And then we had to come up with a clear direction and on what to do and what activities to do. So there was a lot of, I would say, replanning, restructuring, just to make sure that the project is a success and it's actually valuable to the people that were actually affected. Now, let me walk you through the specific objectives of the project. So the first objective is that was to conduct a project inception meeting with the district councils, which is what I've already explained. And the second one was to generate an in-depth understanding of the impact, which I've also already explained with the communities that were actually affected. And this was done through focus group discussions. We targeted the focus group discussions to actually come up with the actual data and information that we needed. And the third one was to understand the local context of the flood and local solutions as suggested by the community. So basically, this is like engaging the communities in the decision-making process, like to give them power into the project so that they can give us, we come up with solutions that will actually help them and benefit them rather than us just coming up with whatever we think is good for them. And the fourth one was to determine how GIS can be applied in curbing the occurrence of floods in the impact area. So for this one, it was just like, to see how GIS can actually benefit the effects of this flood. yeah, and also so that we can also avoid, as I said, it's we are targeting early recovery of these people, like how can they recover from whatever happened, and also how can we plan better if it is to happen again in the future. Now on the second slide on the project activities, another activity was to delineate the flood extent of the area. Like this is basically to come up with the extent, like to define the extent of the floods. And the other activity is mapathons. And mapathons mainly, as you know, in OpenStreetMap, mapathons are our key, I would say our key activity. So this was like basically having, you know, organizing physical mapathons and also having online mapathons where people can actually contribute by mapping the area that we had allocated remotely or physically. And the other activity was data collection and mapping. I think I've also explained part of this, which is participatory mapping. And there's also an element of drone imagery where we have to fly drones on the affected area to have more accurate data. And participatory mapping is basically engaging the communities in the decision-making processes. And the other project activity is capacity building. So on capacity building, we handled it in two ways. One, which is whereby we engage the community members of the affected areas in the decision-making processes. And the other one is whereby we engage our mapping community, the OSM community, the youth mappers, training them, and also training the beginners and also giving access to the existing members to actually contribute to the project. And the other activity is having dissemination workshops. So these dissemination workshops are usually basically with stakeholders, like key stakeholders that have an interest in this project. It could be government officials, the private sector, yeah, but anyone who has, every stakeholder that has interest in this project. Yeah, the activities continue. Another one is data validation. So on the data validation, I think most of us who are in the OpenStreetMap community, we are quite aware of this. This is basically like ground truthing, like, you know, where you verify whatever has been mapped to see, okay, was it, like you make corrections, was this properly done, and confirming what was properly done, and also correcting what wasn't properly done. And then the final stage of the project is monitoring and evaluation. So on monitoring and evaluation, this is a process whereby we monitor the progress, like we check the progress of the project. It's usually back and forth, whereby you're trying to see what have we done, what have we not done, where can we improve before we finish the project or just after we have finished the project. So this involves writing reports, mapping presentations to the stakeholders that are involved or have interest in the project, and also the funder as well. As I said, this project is actually funded by the ESA Hub, Eastern and Southern African Hub. So we have to write reports and present to them of what's going on. That's also our check and balance to see, are we on track? Are we actually delivering what we're supposed to deliver for this project? Yeah, so another question that you might have is who are the data users for this project? For example, we can, it's very possible that someone can just embark on a project, map a lot of things, get a lot of information, but then who is going to use that information? That's a very key element in our project as well, whereby the data that we ensure that the data that we are creating and generating, it has to be used by the relevant people, not just creating it and designing it and then no one uses it. So our main data users are the Department of Disaster in Malawi, which is DODMA, Disaster Management Affairs, and then Malawi Red Cross, who is one of our partners, one of the main partners in the project. As I said, it's a consortium between 3 institutions, the Malawi Red Cross, OpenStreetMap Malawi, and Nkoma University. So Malawi Red Cross is one of the data users of this project, because as you are aware, Malawi Red Cross does a lot of charity, and more especially when it comes to the floods, like things like disasters, floods. Usually Malawi Red Cross usually comes in to offer aid and different kind of support to such kind of people. So Malawi Red Cross is one of our beneficiaries to use this data to actually conduct some of the activities. And some of our users are the Ministry of Education, because we are also mapping some schools that were affected by the floods. The Ministry of Health, we are mapping some hospitals that were affected by the floods. And then we have the Ministry of Lands, and the Ministry of Transport and Public Works, also other ministries, other public ministries at large that might also be interested in using our data, and other stakeholders through OSM. So this picture on your screen is showing us just some of the maps that were created to show the extent, the water extent of the flood, like the flood extent. So as you can see, the pictures, there's A, B, C, and D. These are actually representing the different cyclones that have followed in regards recently, I think beginning from 2019 up until now, the floods that have, the major cyclones that have occurred. So the first one on A here, that's the cyclone, the first one is the last one actually. The first one is the Cyclone Freddy, which is the recent one, then followed by the previous one, which is the cyclone, B is actually Cyclone Gobe, not the previous one. And then C is Cyclone Ana, which is the previous one. And then we have D, Cyclone Idai. So that's just showing you part of our first phase of the project, what we were doing, which was mostly desk work, sitting on the desk and working on these maps. And here is an image that is showing one of our mapathons, which were held at one of the universities in Malawi, called the Mzuzu University. Is it Mzuzu University? Yeah. So as I mentioned on the project activities, one of the key project activities is having mapathons. So this image is just a picture of one of the mapathons that we held. And at this mapathon, we had introduced one of our tools, which is the map box, which is it's a cloud platform, which is an interactive map where you can contribute and store some of the data that we produced, whether virtually or physically. So the data that we stored on this Mapbox tool was sent to a GitHub page for OpenStreetMap Malawi, and the link is on the screen. So you can check this link, or you can copy it or get a screenshot so that you can actually follow the work that we have been doing. Right, and now I've spoken about phase one, which was mainly desk work. Of course, we also did some field work, but mainly it was, desk work. And the field work, actually for phase one, the field work was the first stage that I spoke about, where we had to go first to the district councils to find out exactly the extent of the flood, and also to understand the impact and the actual areas that were mostly affected. That was the field work that we did. But otherwise, the other work was mostly desk work. But then for phase two, most of the work was actually field work. And it actually involved two main stages, which were validating the flood extent maps with the government officials in those areas. So we had to go to find out from them, like to show them the maps that we had created, to verify on the ground, and also with them to see, are these the exact places that were mostly affected? Are we on track? So that was the first field work that we did. And the other one was enriching the flood extent maps by capturing human experiences, non-economic losses associated with the floods. So for this stage, it was mainly community engagement, whereby we had to have discussions with the victims and people who were actually affected, just to understand the impact of the floods on them, and also for them also to actually, do some verification on the maps that we actually showed them. So on this next slide is actually a picture of what I've just explained, where part of our team members were engaging with the community members, showing them the maps, both on paper and on the computer, just for them to do some verification, some ground verification to say, okay, are these the exact areas that were affected? Is this exactly how it looks on the ground? And also for them just to be involved in the process so that they can actually be involved in the decision-making process. And this next slide is it's a picture that was taken from a mapathon at Mzuzu University. By the way, I think I confused the two pictures. This one must have been in Blantyre. The Mzuzu one is this one, not that one. But anyway, it doesn't really matter because both of them are showing the same thing, which is an event that we hosted, a mapathon, engaging students at a university. And the picture that you can see now, this is one of the schools where during our field work, as you can see on the picture, those people working is one of our team, some of our team members on ground who visited this school that we mapped, one of the schools that was actually submerged in water during the cyclone. Yeah, so I just want to share with you a few things that I would call the impact that we have done so far. The first one is community empowerment in the decision-making processes. I think I've said it now and again in my presentation that there has been a high engagement with the community members in the mapping process and in the decision-making process. And the second one is we have trained a lot of new OSM users from the universities and some who are just not from the university, but just people who are interested in OSM. We have added a huge number of them. Unfortunately, I'm not able to pull the numbers today, but you can always reach out to me or to my team members and at OpenStreetMap, Malawi. We can share with you these numbers. I didn't manage to capture all the numbers, so I didn't want to give you a wrong picture. But we have more new OpenStreetMap users. And the other impact so far is we have managed to engage more women. So one of our targets, apart from the technical part, we were targeting a lot of women. We wanted a lot of women to come on board as a women empowerment, girl empowerment initiative. And that actually worked really great. We've managed to take on board a lot of new female mappers. That's an achievement for us. And the last one for now is we've been able to produce some baseline data that is being used by the councils, the district councils that were actually affected by these floods. Reaching this far, I would say thank you very much, everyone, for listening to our presentation. And we look forward to sharing with you more once the project is completely finalized. And once that is done, we will be happy to also share with you the statistics on how many buildings we've mapped, how many roads we've mapped, how many points we've mapped, and all those relevant information. We'll be very happy to share that with you. But for today, please allow me to stop here. And thank you so much for your attention and listening to my presentation. Yeah, in Malawi, thank you, we said Zikomo, as you can see on my screen. Yeah, this is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please ask. And there's one of my team member, our team member, Patrick Kalonde and Blessings Chiepa. I'm not sure if they're there physically to be able to also engage with you guys and maybe add some things that I've left out. Thank you so much for your attention. Hi.
So we thank you for your presentation. I have a question. I've not really understand how do you activity that you are doing. So how do you share the result of your investigations in the case of that project?
Oh, okay. All right, like how do we share the findings of the projects?
Yes.
All right, okay. So we have, as I said, I was presenting to you about Mapbox. Are you familiar with Mapbox? Okay, so one of the ways that we share our work is through Mapbox. As you can see on the slide that I'm sharing, you can copy this link here, the https OSM Malawi.github. Yes, so you can access our information there. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
Good to have you.
Okay, please, can you send the link in the chat box, please?
Okay, let me do that now. I'm going to pull. Okay. Are you able to see? I'm trying to share it. It's not clicking. I don't know why. So I've put it here, but I'm trying to do send. It's not sending. You're able to see on the screen, right?
Okay, you can only copy and paste it in the chat box. Did you try it?
Yeah, here. Can you see my screen? Because I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see? No?
Yeah. You see your
Oh,
screen?
okay. No, I see. Sorry. It was, yeah, I was sending to, yeah, it's done now. My message was direct to State of
Okay.
the Map Africa. Are you able to see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
if you can we have any email address to if you have another questions about
Okay.
another thing to
All right. Let me give you the OpenStreetMap
ask.
Malawi email. Okay. Let me. Yeah, done. I've shared it. Yeah, are you able to see the email?
Yes, okay, we have received the email. So
Okay.
thank you for the presentation.
It's okay. Any more questions?
Okay, is okay. So we have contact and all those link we can write, or if there is another question.
Okay, all right. Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much. Yeah, I don't know. Instead of the map here on the call, is our time up? Yeah, I think time is up. Mm.
Pardon?
I'm saying, is our time up? Are we done or we still have time?
Yeah, it's our time over, I think.
Time over. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone for attending this session. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Mm.
Can the host end live streaming the session, please? Arnold, are you still on the call?
I think I can end it, right? How do I end it?
Only Arnold can. He's the one with the host rights.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's Arnold.